Oh boy, do we have some huge news in the NBA. Shams just tweeted saying the Dallas Mavericks are bracing for star Luka Doncic to miss an extended period of time after sustaining a calf strain. We saw that in the Minnesota Timberwolves game tonight that it looked like he went down with a pretty significant injury to his calf. It's one of those where it may not look like the craziest of injuries when it happens, but it's something that I think Luka's going to probably miss an extended period of time, like Shams is saying. And we can see that Doncic left the arena on crutches today in Dallas. He's expected to undergo an MRI on Thursday. And from what I saw, because I was watching the game when it happened, I would not be surprised to see Luka miss multiple months. Now, you would hope, obviously, like I'm an NBA fan, I want to see Luka Doncic play. The Dallas Mavericks have seriously looked like one of the best teams in the NBA this season. So I'm really hoping that, this is a speedy recovery for Luka and it's not too significant. But I think he's probably going to be out at least a month. And I would say probably closer to 2 or 3 because I think he's going to miss, I think he's going to be injured for about 4 to 6 weeks, and then he's going to have kind of a ramp up period for those last 2 to 3 weeks to get back to playing on court in the NBA. So, horrible news for the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, they had a hard loss, a bad loss against the Minnesota Timberwolves. They really needed to win that game, and Kyrie stepped up huge. He had 39 points, I think it actually was, or maybe even more. He had a ton of points in the Christmas game against the Minnesota Timberwolves. But we could take a look at the roster here, and Kyrie, he's going to do his thing, right? Like we know Kyrie Irving is going to step up, and we know he's going to continue to play at the level he's been playing at. And I think Kyrie will be getting a lot more touches and a lot more looks for this Dallas Mavericks team. But I mean, who else? Who's going to be that second option to Kyrie? Is it going to be Klay Thompson? Is it going to be Najee Marshall? Is it going to be one of the bigs like Daniel Gafford or Derek Lively? Is it going to be Spencer Dinwiddie? Is it going to be Quentin Grimes? There is so many now question marks with this Dallas Mavericks roster. As we could take a look here, I mean, maybe it's a guy like PJ Washington, right? Maybe he steps up and gets into a way bigger role. But I don't know. Like, if you're the Dallas Mavericks, you still have a really good record. And I think they have a good enough roster where I would hope they can still stay afloat. I do want to quickly check out their schedule and where they are in the standings. But first, let's check out the schedule here because I want to see, who do they have to play coming up. So they do got to play Phoenix on Friday, which will be a tough game, of course. Phoenix is obviously one of the better teams in the Western Conference. But then they do have an easier game against Portland, which is nice. Should be able to hold on and still win that game because, at least in my opinion, if you're the Mavs, you're just trying to stay afloat, right? I believe they're now 19-11 or something of that such in the NBA standing. So you're just trying to stay above 500, stay, as high as you can in the Western Conference. So you got to beat the bad teams and then maybe try to sneak a couple wins against a Phoenix, or you could probably beat a Sacramento Kings team that just doesn't look good at all. They've been horrible recently. So, they have a couple easier games in Portland and Sacramento. I mean, it's hard to say the Kings are an easy game, but with how they've been playing and how good this Mavs roster is, even without Luka Doncic, I would not be surprised if they could win that game. Houston, Cleveland, Memphis, LA, that's a really hard stretch. I mean, Houston is a young team, but they're playing amazing this season. So I think it's also in Cleveland, it's also in Houston, I believe, which is not going to be good. And then they got to play Cleveland. That's going to be a really tough game, probably a game they're going to lose. Then you go Memphis, LA. Then you get Portland, another easier matchup, and then you got to go back-to-back Denver. You got a couple OKC coming up. You got a Minnesota game coming up. So it's gonna be rough for the Dallas Mavericks over the next month or so. Curious to see how long Luka's gonna be out for because that's gonna be the real deal breaker, right? If he's only out for a couple weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, it's gonna be a lot easier. But if we see Luka Doncic out for multiple months, this is a Dallas Mavericks roster that, yes, they're still 19-11, and they've been playing red hot basketball, and they have been looking like seriously one of the best teams in the entire NBA, not even just the West. But without Luka Doncic, who is playing at that superstar MVP type of level, you're going to need a lot of guys to step up, and I'm curious to see what's going to happen with the Mavs roster, who's going to step up and who's going to take that role and play a lot better and get a lot more looks and shots. But we can see they're 19-11, currently fourth in the Western Conference. But, Denver's only a couple games behind. Clippers have been playing a lot better. LA could potentially be on the run. So It's going to get questionable for the Mavericks here over the next couple weeks and month, but hopefully Luka's not out for too long. I'll maybe make an updated video with how long he's going to be out for, but just wanted to make a quick video to talk about Shams' tweet that Luka's going to be out for an extended period of time. Yeah, it's not looking good for the Dallas Mavericks, but interested to see how they handle this. And, it will help them in a sense of, in the future, if Luka's obviously going to be healthy, for the remaining of the season. Like, let's say he's back in February or back in March. Like, once we get to playoff time, it's going to battle test the rest of this Mavs roster. A lot of these guys are going to have to step up into way bigger roles, and they're going to have to really fight and work together as a team to continue playing good basketball and win basketball games. So it may actually help the Mavs in the long run, but in the short term, it is not looking good for the Dallas Mavericks without Luka Doncic. It sucks to see, but let me know in the comment section down below. What do you guys think about this injury and update news for Luka Doncic? But we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.